this Academy training session. In today's video, we are going to build a complete, structured, and deeply detailed understanding of gas fees within blockchain networks. Gas fees are not just a minor technical detail. They are a foundational mechanism that makes blockchain systems function securely, fairly, and sustainably. Many people enter cryptocurrency excited about profits, airdrops, decentralized finance, or digital assets. However, very quickly they encounter confusion. Why am I paying gas? Why did the cost increase suddenly? Why did my transaction fail? Why does this ether look real but cannot be withdrawn? These questions arise because gas is often used before it is properly understood. Today, we will correct that. By the end of this video, you will understand not only what gas is, but why it exists, how it is calculated, why it fluctuates, and how the distinction between Mainnet and Testnet protects your financial safety. Let us begin at the foundation. What is gas? To properly understand gas, we must slow down and examine what truly happens behind the scenes when you interact with a blockchain. Most beginners think that when they press the send button in their wallet, the transaction simply moves from one place to another instantly. But that is not what is happening. Let us go deeper. A blockchain such as Ethereum is not a single computer. It is not owned by one company. It is not controlled by one server in one country. It is a distributed global network composed of thousands of independent computers located in different parts of the world, just as we explained in our previous video. These computers are called nodes or validators. Each of these computers stores a copy of the blockchain ledger. Each of them participates in verifying and confirming transactions. Now let us imagine you decide to send cryptocurrency to a friend. You open your wallet. You enter the recipient address. You enter the amount. You press send. From your perspective, it feels simple. But from the network's perspective, a complex process has just begun. The moment you press send, your wallet broadcasts a transaction request to the entire blockchain network. This request must go through several critical steps before it is accepted. First, the network must verify accuracy. The system checks whether the transaction format is correct. It verifies that the digital signature is valid. It ensures that the request was truly authorized by the owner of the wallet. Second, the network must confirm sufficient balance. The system checks your wallet history to confirm that you actually own the funds you are trying to send. It ensures that you are not attempting to spend more than you have. Third, the network must confirm legitimacy. The transaction is examined to ensure it follows protocol rules. It must comply with consensus mechanisms that govern the blockchain. Fourth, once validated, the transaction must be permanently recorded. Your transaction is grouped together with other transactions into what is called a block. That block is then added to the blockchain in a permanent, irreversible way. Fifth, that updated block must be distributed across all participating computers worldwide. Every validator updates its copy of the ledger. Every node synchronizes with the new block. The entire network agrees on the new state. All of this happens in seconds, but it is not effortless. This entire verification and recording process requires computational power. Computational power requires processing capability. Processing capability requires electricity. Electricity and hardware infrastructure cost money. The computers validating your transaction are real machines running continuously. They consume power. They require maintenance. They require cooling systems. They require technical expertise to operate. These resources are not free. Gas is the mechanism that ensures those providing these resources are compensated. Gas is the fee you pay for the computational effort required to process and secure your transaction. Without gas, there would be no incentive for validators to maintain the network. Without validators, there would be no blockchain. Without blockchain, there would be no decentralized transactions. Gas is therefore not a penalty. It is not a random charge. It is not a hidden tax. It is the operating cost of a decentralized global computer. You may think of it in very practical terms. If you use water in your home, you receive a water bill. If you use electricity, you receive an electricity bill. If you drive a car, you pay for fuel. In the same way, if you use blockchain computation, you pay gas. Gas is the pricing system that measures how much computational work your transaction requires. The more complex the action, the more gas is consumed. The more computational work required, the more gas is consumed. Gas is therefore both a measurement unit and a payment system. It measures computational effort. It prices computational effort. It compensates computational effort. When you understand gas in this way, you stop seeing it as an annoying fee. Instead, you begin to see it as the engine that keeps the decentralized ecosystem functioning. Gas is the economic fuel of blockchain networks. Without gas, the system cannot run. And that is the true foundation of what gas is.
Why gas exists. Gas is not random. Gas is not a hidden charge. Gas is not an unnecessary burden placed on users. Gas exists because decentralized systems cannot survive without economic structure. To truly understand why gas exists, we must understand how blockchain networks sustain themselves without central control. Unlike traditional financial systems, there is no bank. There is no central company paying employees. There is no government funding the infrastructure. Blockchain networks are self-sustaining digital economies, and gas is one of the core mechanisms that keeps this economy functioning. Let us explore this deeply. First purpose: incentivizing validators. At the heart of every blockchain network are validators. On networks such as Ethereum, validators are independent participants who operate powerful computing systems. These systems are not small personal devices. They are often high-performance machines running continuously 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Validators dedicate real-world resources to the network, including hardware infrastructure, electricity consumption, internet bandwidth, technical maintenance, and security systems. Their responsibilities are critical to the survival of the blockchain. They validate transactions by checking accuracy and digital signatures, secure the network against fraud and double spending, confirm block creation by agreeing on which transactions become permanent, and maintain synchronization so that every computer across the globe has the same updated ledger. Without validators, there would be no trust. Without trust, there would be no blockchain. Without blockchain, decentralization would collapse. Now, here is the key point. Validators are not employees of a company. There is no corporation paying them salaries. There is no government funding their operations. There is no central authority covering their expenses. They operate independently and voluntarily. Why? Because they are economically rewarded. Gas fees are that reward. Every time you submit a transaction, the gas fee you pay is distributed to validators as compensation for processing and securing that transaction. Gas is therefore not simply a transaction fee. It is the economic engine of decentralization. Without gas fees, there would be no financial motivation to validate transactions. Validators would shut down their machines. The network security would weaken. Attack risks would increase. Trust in the system would deteriorate. Eventually, decentralization would fail. Gas ensures that the blockchain ecosystem remains economically sustainable. It creates a self-contained reward structure that allows the network to operate without central funding. Second purpose, preventing network abuse. Now let us examine the second structural purpose of gas. Imagine a blockchain network where sending transactions is completely free. No cost, no limitation, no economic barrier. What would happen? A malicious actor could send millions of fake transactions within minutes, flood the network with meaningless data, overload block space, slow down legitimate users, attempt denial of service attacks. Because there would be no cost, there would be no deterrent. The network would become congested instantly. Transaction processing would slow dramatically. Users would lose confidence in the system. Gas introduces a financial cost to every action. Every time you perform a transaction, you must pay. If someone attempts to spam the network, they must pay for every single transaction they send. If they attempt to flood the network with 1 million transactions, they must pay gas for 1 million transactions. This cost quickly becomes economically irrational for attackers. Gas therefore acts as a protective barrier. The more complex the action, the higher the computational requirement. The higher the computational requirement, more gas must be paid. This pricing structure discourages abuse at scale. It ensures that blockchain space is treated as a valuable resource. Gas is therefore a network defense mechanism. It prevents spam, it discourages malicious activity, it protects block space, it maintains performance stability. The dual nature of gas. When we combine both purposes, we see something powerful. Gas is both an incentive mechanism and a defense mechanism. It rewards honest participation, it discourages malicious behavior, it funds validators, it protects the network, it sustains decentralization, it enforces economic discipline. Gas is not merely a fee, it is the economic backbone of decentralized systems. Without gas, there is no sustainable validator reward system. There is no effective anti-spam mechanism. There is no long-term network security. Gas is what transforms a distributed computer network into a self-sustaining decentralized economy. And when you begin to see gas in this structural way, you no longer view it as an inconvenience. You begin to recognize it as the fuel that keeps the entire blockchain ecosystem alive and functioning.
Gas limit and gas price. Advanced conceptual breakdown with financial awareness. Now we move into technical precision. If you truly want to stop guessing when interacting with blockchain networks, you must understand two critical components: gas limit and gas price. Without understanding these two, you are operating blindly. With understanding, you gain financial awareness and control. Let us break this down carefully. Gas limit refers to the maximum amount of computational work your transaction is allowed to consume. Let us simplify that. Every action performed on a blockchain, such as Ethereum, requires computational steps. A blockchain does not think in money first. It thinks in operations. Each operation has a cost measured in gas units. Now consider different types of actions. Transferring Ether from one wallet to another is relatively simple. It involves updating balances and verifying a signature. Swapping tokens through a decentralized exchange is more complex. It may involve multiple smart contract calls, liquidity pool interactions, and price calculations. Executing advanced decentralized finance strategies is even more complex. It may include staking, borrowing, collateral locking, interest calculation, and multiple conditional contract executions. The more complex the action, the more computational steps required. And because each computational step consumes gas, more complexity equals more gas consumption. Gas limit sets the ceiling. It defines the maximum number of gas units your transaction is permitted to use. Think of it like setting a fuel tank size before starting a journey. If your journey requires 10 liters of fuel, but your tank only allows 5 liters, you will not reach your destination. The transaction will stop midway. Now here's something very important. If your transaction exceeds the gas limit you set, it will fail. However, even though it fails, validators still performed computational work attempting to process it. They verified parts of it. They executed instructions. They consumed electricity and processing power. Because real resources were used, you still pay for the gas that was consumed before failure. This is why understanding gas limit protects you from wasting funds. If you set the gas limit too low, your transaction may fail. You may lose money without completing the action. If you set it appropriately, your transaction completes successfully. You avoid unnecessary losses. Gas limit is therefore about capacity planning. It is your transaction's computational allowance. Gas price, the market mechanism. Now let us move to gas price. Gas price refers to how much you are willing to pay per unit of computational work. If gas limit measures quantity of computation, gas price measures cost per unit of computation. Gas price is not fixed. It fluctuates constantly. Why? Because blockchain space is limited. Each block can only contain a limited number of transactions. When many users want their transactions processed at the same time, competition begins. When network demand increases, more users submit transactions simultaneously. Block space becomes scarce. Users compete to get priority. They offer higher gas prices because they earn more. This creates a bidding system. The higher your gas price, the faster your transaction is likely to be processed. When network demand decreases, fewer users compete for block space. Less urgency exists. Gas prices fall. Gas price is therefore a dynamic market variable. It reflects real-time demand for blockchain computation. It is similar to surge pricing in transportation services. When demand rises, prices increase. When demand falls, prices decrease. Understanding gas price allows you to choose between speed and cost. If your transaction is urgent, you may choose a higher gas price. If it is not urgent, you may choose a lower gas price and wait longer. That is financial awareness. Total gas fee. The complete formula. Now let us combine everything. The final transaction fee you pay is calculated as gas limit multiplied by gas price. Gas limit determines how much computational work is allowed. Gas price determines how much you pay per unit of that work. When you multiply both, you get total gas fee. If you begin asking, is this transaction complex? Is the network congested? Can I wait for lower demand? Am I setting an appropriate gas limit? This is the difference between guessing and operating with strategic awareness. Why this matters for real financial responsibility. When you interact with blockchain networks such as Ethereum, you are participating in a live computational marketplace. Gas limit is high and gas price is high, your total fee increases significantly. If gas limit is moderate and gas price is low, your total fee decreases. This formula represents the full computational cost of your blockchain interaction. It is not random, it is mathematical. Understanding this formula gives you control. You stop blaming the network blindly. You start making informed decisions. Control
controls your computational allowance. Gas price reflects market demand. Total fee reflects economic reality. Understanding these variables ensures fewer failed transactions, lower unnecessary expenses, better timing decisions, smarter financial participation. Gas is not just technical terminology. It is a live economic mechanism. And once you understand gas limit and gas price clearly, you move from being a casual user to becoming an informed blockchain participant.
Network congestion. Understanding demand, block space, and economic pressure. To truly understand gas fees, you must understand network congestion. Network congestion occurs when a large number of users attempt to use a blockchain at the same time. Remember something important. A blockchain such as Ethereum is not infinite in capacity. It is powerful, it is distributed, it is global, but it is not unlimited. Each blockchain produces blocks at fixed time intervals, and each block has limited space. That block space is like digital real estate. Only a certain number of transactions can fit inside each block. Now let us explore when congestion typically happens. Network congestion often occurs during popular token launches when thousands of users rush to buy at the same moment. Non-fungible token minting events where collectors compete to secure limited digital assets. Sudden market crashes when traders rush to sell or protect their positions. Viral decentralized finance opportunities when users attempt to stake, farm, or participate before rewards reduce. In these situations, demand suddenly spikes. Thousands, sometimes millions of transaction requests flood the network within minutes. But here is the constraint. The blockchain cannot process all of them instantly. Because each block has limited capacity, only a fraction of those transactions can be included in the next block. When demand exceeds block capacity, competition begins. Users start increasing their gas price to gain priority. Validators, who earn from gas fees, naturally select transactions offering higher compensation. This creates a bidding environment. The higher the gas price you offer, the more attractive your transaction becomes. If you offer a low gas price during congestion, your transaction may remain pending for a long time. It may even fail if network conditions change dramatically. This entire process is not emotional, it is not personal, it is not manipulation. It is basic supply and demand economics. Let us break that down clearly. Supply, block space is limited. Demand, users want their transactions processed. When supply is limited and demand is high, price increases. That price increase appears in the form of higher gas fees. Gas fees are therefore not random numbers generated without logic. They are economic signals. They signal how much demand currently exists for blockchain computation. High gas fees signal heavy competition. Low gas fees signal lighter network activity. When you see gas fees rising, it means blockchain space is scarce at that moment. When you see gas fees falling, it means demand has cooled. Understanding this changes your mindset completely. Instead of asking, why is the network expensive today, you begin asking, is the network congested right now? Instead of reacting emotionally, you begin observing economically. Network congestion teaches an important lesson. Blockchain space is valuable. And like any valuable resource, when many people want it at once, the price rises. Gas fees are not punishment. They are reflections of real-time demand pressure. And once you understand congestion, you begin to time your transactions more intelligently. You begin to move strategically rather than impulsively. That is the power of understanding network congestion.
Understanding Mainnet. Understanding the real economic layer of blockchain.
Now we move into something extremely important. If you misunderstand this section, you may misunderstand the entire blockchain ecosystem. Let us talk about Mainnet. Mainnet is the primary live version of a blockchain network. It is the official, fully operational, economically active environment where real transactions take place. It is not a simulation. It is not a testing ground. It is not practice mode. It is real. When you interact with Mainnet, you are interacting with the actual economic infrastructure of that blockchain. Let us break this down carefully. Mainnet is fully operational, economically active, connected to global exchanges, handling real monetary value. When you use the mainnet of a blockchain such as Ethereum, every action you take has real financial consequences. On Ethereum mainnet, gas is paid in Ether. Ether has real market value. Ether is traded globally on exchanges. Ether can be converted into national currencies. This means that every transaction you pay has real economic cost. If gas costs increase during network congestion, you are paying more real money. If you send funds to the wrong address, those funds are permanently lost. If you interact with a malicious smart contract, your assets can be drained. There is no undo button. There is no reversal mechanism. There is no centralized customer support center that can restore your funds. Why? Because blockchain is decentralized. There is no central authority controlling transactions. There is no administrator who can reverse mistakes. There is no bank manager who can freeze and refund transfers. Once a transaction is confirmed on Mainnet, it becomes permanent. It is recorded in a block. That block becomes part of the chain. The record is distributed across thousands of computers globally. It cannot be edited. It cannot be erased. It cannot be reversed. This permanence is what gives blockchain its integrity, but it is also what makes Mainnet serious. Mainnet represents the real economic layer of blockchain. It is where assets are stored, value is transferred, businesses operate, decentralized applications run, investments are made, risks are taken. When you interact with Mainnet, you are participating in a live global financial system. Not a game, not a demo, not an experiment. A real system with real consequences. This is why understanding gas price, gas limit, and network congestion matters so much. On Mainnet, mistakes cost money. Understanding reduces risk. Ignorance increases risk. Before interacting with Mainnet, you must understand transaction mechanics, understand fee structures, understand smart contract risk, understand wallet security. Mainnet is powerful, but power requires responsibility. When you operate on Mainnet, you are operating in the true economic environment of blockchain, and that is why education must always come before action. Understanding Testnet. Understanding the safe environment for learning and development. Now that we clearly understand Mainnet, we must examine its parallel environment. That environment is called Testnet. Testnet is a separate blockchain environment created specifically for experimentation, testing, and education. It is not the real economic layer. It is a simulation environment that mirrors the structure of Mainnet while removing financial risk. Let us explain this carefully. A testnet is built using the same blockchain architecture as the main network. For example, within the ecosystem of Ethereum, there are official test networks designed to replicate Ethereum's behavior. These test networks function almost identically to Mainnet in terms of transaction structure, wallet interaction, smart contract execution, gas mechanics, block creation, and network validation. From a technical perspective, it behaves like the real network,
but from an economic perspective, it is completely different. Testnet exists for three primary groups of participants: developers testing smart contracts before deployment, users practicing wallet interactions and transaction signing, projects experimenting with features before launching on Mainnet. Let us make this very clear. When developers create decentralized applications, they cannot risk deploying untested code directly to Mainnet. If they do, bugs could cause permanent financial loss. Therefore, they first deploy their smart contracts on Testnet. They test behavior, they identify errors, they simulate transactions, they evaluate gas consumption. Only after proper testing do they migrate to Mainnet. Now let us talk about tokens on Testnet. Testnet tokens are not purchased. They are not mined for profit. They are not traded on global exchanges. They are distributed freely through what are called faucets. A faucet is a system that gives users free test tokens for practice purposes. These tokens cannot be sold on exchanges, cannot be converted into national currency, cannot be withdrawn for profit, have no monetary value. They exist purely for experimentation. One example of a test network within the Ethereum ecosystem is Sepolia. Sepolia is an official Ethereum test network. On Sepolia, the native token is Sepolia Ether. Now, here is where confusion often begins. Sepolia Ether looks identical inside a wallet interface. If you open your wallet and switch networks, the balance may appear similar. You may see numbers, you may see transaction confirmations, you may see gas usage. Visually, it resembles Mainnet Ether, but economically, it is completely different. Sepolia Ether carries zero monetary value, zero. It cannot be exchanged for real money, it cannot be sold for profit, it cannot be withdrawn to your bank account. It exists purely for testing, learning, developing, experimenting. This is extremely important. Testnet is practice mode. Mainnet is real economic mode. On Testnet, mistakes cost nothing. You can experiment freely. You can fail without financial damage. On Mainnet, mistakes cost real money. Transactions are irreversible. Risk is permanent. Testnet protects learners. Mainnet demands responsibility. If someone shows you large Testnet balance and claims wealth, that is misunderstanding. Test tokens are not real assets. They are simulation tools. Understanding this difference protects you from false expectations and misinformation. Testnet exists to prepare you. Mainnet is where economic reality begins. And once you truly understand this distinction, you will never again confuse test tokens with real financial value.
Ethereum gas versus Sepolia gas. A clear and final comparison. Now let us bring everything together with a direct comparison, because this is where many beginners become confused. We will compare gas on Ethereum Mainnet and gas on Sepolia Testnet clearly, calmly, and professionally. On Ethereum Mainnet, when you operate on the main network of Ethereum, gas is paid in real Ether. That Ether has real market value. It is traded on global exchanges. It can be sold. It can be converted into national currencies. It can be held as a long-term investment asset. When you spend gas on Ethereum Mainnet, you are spending real money. If you pay high gas fees during network congestion, that is real financial cost. If your transaction fails, you lose real Ether. If you interact with a malicious contract, you risk real capital. Ethereum Mainnet is economically active. It is connected to exchanges. It interacts with global liquidity. It supports billions of dollars in value. Gas expenditure on Mainnet represents real financial consequence. There is no simulation. There is no refund mechanism. There is no practice mode. It is the live economic layer of blockchain. Sepolia Testnet. Now let us examine Sepolia. Sepolia is a test network within the Ethereum ecosystem.
It mirrors Ethereum's technical structure. It processes transactions, it validates blocks, it consumes gas, it executes smart contracts, but economically it is completely different. On Sepolia Testnet, gas is paid in test ether, obtained freely from faucets. This test ether cannot be traded, cannot be sold, cannot be withdrawn, cannot be converted into real money, and has zero market value. It exists purely for testing, education, experimentation, and development. If you spend test ether on gas, you lose nothing financially. If a transaction fails, you lose nothing financially. If you make a mistake, there is no economic damage. Sepolia is practice mode. Ethereum Mainnet is real economic mode. How confusion happens. Visually, both environments may appear identical within your wallet interface. You may see balances, transaction confirmations, gas usage, block confirmations. The interface looks similar. The process feels similar, but functionally and economically, they are completely separate systems. One represents live capital, the other represents simulation value. Understanding this difference eliminates beginner-level confusion permanently. Let us reinforce everything clearly. Gas is the computational fee required to use blockchain networks. Gas exists to reward validators, compensate computational work, and prevent network abuse. Gas limit defines computational allowance. Gas price defines the cost per computational unit. Network congestion increases gas prices because demand for block space rises. Mainnet represents real financial value. Testnet represents practice and development without monetary value. By the end of this video, you now possess a structured and professional understanding of gas mechanics and the distinction between live financial environments and testing environments. The clarity protects your capital. It strengthens your decision-making. It eliminates beginner-level confusion. It allows you to operate with awareness instead of assumption. In our next Academy session, we will continue deepening your understanding so that you operate within the blockchain ecosystem with intelligence, discipline, and confidence. Stay focused, stay informed, and always understand before you transact.